Welcome back, horror movie fans. As you can see, Deadite Ash has taken a powder, but I've replaced him with this cute little guy. My little mini Funko mystery mini, I think they were called that series, of the Keeper from The Evil Within. He was a gift from a very special friend of mine. So we're going to put him, he's rather top heavy, so we're going to have to lean him up. So he will be the keeper of this. Today's episode, sponsored by the letter F. Now I know yesterday I may have said that I was only going to present one, but I was debating with myself and there was one I couldn't leave out, just for sheer purposes of what it was. But we're not going to start with that one. Instead, we're going to start with the first one, and it would be The Fog. You go up there. Not the remake, which we will not speak of, but the original 1980, directed by the great John Carpenter, with a legendary cast. I mean, Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Atkins, Janet Leigh, Hal Holbrook, a big-time cast. And this one, the point of it is, it's a city or little town in California who's celebrating its centennial anniversary. History goes, a ship was sunk because the wealthy merchant who owned it was afflicted with leprosy, and the townsfolk did not want him to turn it into a leper colony, so they purposely sunk the ship, plundered the gold, and then built their own city. So 100 years later, this happens. Strange fog rolls in. There's beings in the fog. People are taken into the fog and never heard from again. The remake actually wasn't that bad, but when you compare it really to the original, there simply is no comparison. So, I say the original 1980 Fog, John Carpenter, one of the legends in the horror industry, definitely gets my vote for this Halloween. Okay, and now we're going to move on to the one that I debated long and hard about. But I feel if you want to be creeped out, this isn't so much a horror movie as we think of horror movies. It's a little different, so we're going to go through it kind of gently. Actually, it is by the director of Dracula, the original one with Bela Lugosi. But this is one of his movies that sadly, because of the reception of it, did really mark the downfall of his career, which ended in the movies not long after this came out. In 1932, Todd Browning released a movie called Freaks. And actually, if you see Todd Browning's Freaks, that's the only credit he was given. He wasn't listed as the director. He wasn't listed on any studio records as a producer. The studio tried on various occasions to shut the production of this movie down because Todd Browning, if you don't know, actually was a circus performer in his younger days. He was a clown and he was a contortionist. So at that time, he had a lot of familiarity with the sideshow performers, as we call them now, but back then they were. There you go. But it's, like I say, it's not so much a horror movie, but it is disturbing. So I will warn you with that. It is a disturbing film to watch. So I think at this point, I would like to say that I really hope that I will not cause any sort of issues with people and any sort of relationships with loved ones or their community in general for my recommendations. I just think that as a piece of cinema, it's lasted a long time and it is legendary, to be sure. The cut that you can purchase, I believe, is only 62 minutes. Originally shot, it was 90 minutes. Sorry about that, I bumped the camera. As I was saying, the original cut was 90 minutes, but they had to cut, what would 62 from 90 be? 28 minutes of footage for it to even be remotely passable to the censors, as this was the pre-code days. That 28 minutes, I think, at least as far as I know, has been lost to the winds. Most likely will never be seen. I have to admit I'm morbidly curious about what it is. I'm not even going to attempt to describe it other than the fact that it does feature real life sideshow performers and people that are knowledgeable about the history of the sideshows and the circuses and the carnivals. They are names that you will know. I think probably the most prominent one, Johnny Eck. I think they called him the half boy. He was born, I think, essentially from the waist up, but was just. He actually went on, I think, to have a pretty good acting career. Passed away actually in 1991 at the age of 79. But he's one of the bigger names outside of the main cast. And Wallace Ford is in there, Layla Hyams. It's, like I say, be warned, because it is not, your typical horror movie that you would watch, get some giggles out of it and be scared. It is disturbing. So that is all I will say about that. Hopefully you liked The Letter F. I do recommend The Fog. It's a good one to watch late at night. Freaks, I just wanted to share it with you because I feel it is important to American and world cinema that it is still around. Actually, in some states in the United States, it was banned outright, and even though a lot of those places lifted the repeal on it years later, I know the United Kingdom banned it for 30 years before they lifted it. But technically, in some areas of the United States, I'm not 100% sure which, it is illegal to show this movie. So bear that in mind, and join us tomorrow for The Letter G. I had an interesting idea about that. So we will see you tomorrow.